Hello again, my name is T and welcome to my party. So we are in a hot debate, or I guess argument, with Yasunaga because he's like, it's your fault, and I'm like, nope, it's your fault because you're a wolf. And look at me, I'm an adult. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, oops. You didn't see anything. Don't look at that. Let's go. Let's go. It's getting hot. I should have joined the feast from the get-go. If I had, I wouldn't have wasted time on pointless arguments and autopsies. However, you know, right here there's a guy who can think for himself but just played along with some dumb superstition, letting both of his brother and mother die. As an adult, I'm really mad at him, Yasunaga. Once I said that, Yasunaga Oribe hung his head and fell silent. 10 seconds of silence were enough for everyone to realize he'd lost the argument. However, the expression on his face was abnormally calm. True, I really am a wolf. He spoke as if it wasn't a big deal. But you are misunderstanding a few things. But that just made it even more abnormal. We've already won. He tossed away the grass sickle. His voice wasn't nearly as passionate as before it was cold and rational. He demonstrated a confidence rooted in sound logic, but I couldn't understand what he meant. Other wolf, please reveal yourself. What was the point of that? Are you sure, Yasu? Yes, that's enough. I am the other wolf. I couldn't make sense of this. Had he decided to graciously concede by selling out his partner now that he had been cornered? No, he said he already won. Even if they were two wolves, there were four of us. They'd lose in votes. My answer came from a completely unexpected direction. Nii-chan? Nii-chan and Teiba? Really? Are you wolves? A shout of pure, unadulterated joy? Haru Makishima became the least comprehensible of everyone present. She ran to Yasunaga Oribe and hugged him. He hesitated for a moment, but reciprocated. Maiko, still as clueless as ever, walked over to us. Oni-chan? I'm sorry. Hide behind Chiemi. Hariaki, what is this? I don't know. I really didn't, but I'd had a feeling that something wasn't quite right for a while now, and I suspected it'd be made clear now. I was certain of it. It left me feeling uneasy. Okay, you have the initiative here. Can you explain? Taiba, you do it. Fine. I've been relying on you too much all this time. So she wasn't even denying it. Chi-chan, Meiko-chan. Not me? Mom? This is something I never told you. A long time ago, when I was still a girl, Kama Fujiyoshi's people got drunk and revealed the truth behind the feast of the Yomi Purge. The truth. Tei Yamawaki told us a story that was very similar to the legend they told in the strange village. Well, it was less like it was similar, and more like I was looking at it from the opposite angle. The part about the great Lord Shinai's sending the 5 guardians to help the people was the same. 4 of them teamed up with the humans to murder the wolves. However, in the real story, the good and bad sides were completely reversed. Apparently, the people and 4 guardians joined Yomi on the very first feast of the Yomi Purge. Basically, all of them were Yomibito. They all ganged up on and overpowered and exposed the wolves, who tried to resist until the very end. That meant this land belonged to the Yomibito for a long time. The wolves were summoned here by no other than Shinai-sama himself. Some people of Yasumizu were given the blessing of the wolves and had to free Yasumizu of its Yomibito. Basically, it was a holy war for them, and that was the truth behind the Feast of the Yomi Purge. Tei Yamawaki continued her explanation. At first, we thought the people of Kamafujiyoshi just made it up to make fun of us. But we found out it was true when we became blessed by Shinai himself. So you see, Chi-chan, that is why we have to slay everyone here. It hurt a lot, though. Takumi suffered greatly, too. But we had to do it to save the Yamabito. That's what Shinai-sama said. Tei Yamawaki was crying. Alright, so she was now confirmed culprit who believed the murders to be salvation. There were just 2 more points I didn't understand. The corruption and the eerie message. Most things made sense if you switched Shinai's enemies and allies. The idea that people wearing those outfits could be good guys was kind of weird, but, well, that was the culture here. Maybe only the Yamabito, me too, saw them as evil? Maybe that was the story here. The problem here was that I didn't know that. Chami didn't know this. I only found out when I was blessed. So even Yasunaga didn't know about it? I remembered some of his words. Yasunaga flashback that I'm not gonna read because I already read it. Look at him talking, what an asshole. He really hated lies, didn't he? He basically told me the truth of things. This feast actually had a system that made zealous murderers of people. However, enough about Yasunaga Oribe. Then, why did Haru know? She was glad when she realized Yasunaga Oribe was a wolf. Basically, she already knew the real story, that the wolves were the good guys. Why? Who told her? The Okami told me. They showed up in my dreams on the day Oji-chan died and told me about it. Nonsense. Insanity. Did she seriously decide to throw her life away over a dream? But on the day Oji-chan died, he died the night before Haru decided to run away from the settlement. She believed the dream. She started to despair over being surrounded by Yamabito and planned to escape. That made sense. But I did think Teiba would know the real story. There was no way she couldn't. But she didn't say it, so I thought that maybe she was a wolf. I began to think of the same thing about Nii-chan when we talked. It all clicked. She believed. She believed the sudden revelation despite the lack of proof, and that the man she liked was in the minority that had justice on their side. Right now, she would try to betray the humans and join the wolves. She believed Yasunaga Oribe was right with all of her heart. And so, the wolf Yasunaga Oribe had 3 votes for the feast. I can't be killed, even if Chiene and Maiko both voted for me. Even if you bend the rules and count Fusashi's vote, it'd still be just 3. You couldn't choose one even if we did a final vote. And now, without either wolf dying, we win. It was easy. I saw it clearly now. I understood. Haruaki? Is he? Yeah, Yasunaga is right. We lose. Everyone had different reactions to my words. Chiemi backed away and gasped. Tei Yamawaki closed her eyes and sighed. Meiko didn't seem to understand anything. Yasunaga Oribe didn't react at all. Haru Makishima was smiling. Oh man. All I really had left was struggling like the filthy, annoying adult I was. Haru? What? Oh, Nii-chan, what will happen to Fusashi? I'll ignore him if he doesn't interfere. I see. Was that relief just now? But I couldn't enjoy the sudden jump in popularity. We don't have to slay him. Shinai-sama will do something if need be. That dispassionate tone didn't do much to convince me he truly believed this ridiculous superstition. But you won't ignore this, will you? Who knows? Honestly, if you're the good guys, I don't know if I should help the Yamibito side. Ariaki? You're crueler than I thought. We city folk value a well-reasoned argument. I want to say I misjudged you. This is the right decision. Very right, in fact. Big words. Hey, what the hell? You said you liked Chiani, didn't you? And now you're gonna abandon her? Pick a side, Haru. Shut up. I hate voicing her. Good point. Well, yeah, I was pretty damn cold-blooded. I'm not too fond of being hit where it hurts, so I guess I'll respond. Haru? What? You know you're gonna die, right? You're okay with that? Huh? This was pretty damn bad, honestly. Apparently, this great Lord Shinai was a huge scumbag. He should have told her that much. Even if you've been told the real story, you're still a human. You haven't become a wolf, have you? You didn't kill Takumi or Misato, right? I didn't. I don't know why, but you're just a human who knows the real story. That's why the human's defeat will be your death. You said you thought Yasunaga might have been a wolf when you talked together, right? I don't think he would ever let anything like that slip, so he probably realized your role from the way you were acting. He was probably trying to lead you by showing hints, not revealing his identity in order to test whether you would join him. The wolves probably knew there was a human who had that role. What of it? He actually said that? This was the part when he was supposed to start lying. By not denying that, you basically admitted you were an absolute scumbag who used Haru knowing you'd have to kill her. He was that bad at lying? Then how did he survive this so long? Wait. Something was very wrong. I'd seriously misunderstood something here. And soon enough, my hunch was proven right. Seriously? What of it? Haru-chan. Haru Makishima's voice was brimming with joy. A carefree smile, laced with seductive intoxication. Yomibito need to be hung. We're corrupt, filthy, and disgusting. We can only be saved by the wolves' whorls and claws. Everyone knows that. That's why you finished off Kaori, right? You wanted to make your mother happy. Yeah. Exactly. Nii-chan, make me happy too. Haru Makishima coquettishly? She leaned on him. Yasunaga Oribe brought her closer without even a flicker of emotion crossing his face. Tei Yamawaki watched for them with a broad smile. What? What the hell? What were these people? So, Chiani, what will you do? If you listen to me, I'll save you. I underestimated it. I underestimated the madness of Yasumizu. And I realized too late that the Feast of the Yomi Purge wasn't just a system where zealous murderers killed each other. There was something here that completely shattered the people on a fundamental level. It was like a gear of madness. Those who knew the real story found salvation in death. That insane tale instantly convinced people that it was right to agree and to find peace in that. And I was actually surrounded by those very people. Understanding that made me remember that she was from here too. Chiemi was trying to take a step forward. I should have realized this earlier. She who was afraid of God was just like them, who accepted their salvation. Both brands of madness probably had roots in the exact same thing, so she was just as susceptible to the madness as they were. However, it wasn't too late for her. Yasunaga Oribe's expression stayed the same, but right before I looked away from him, I saw a slight change. It was bitterness, irritation, something out of place on a victor's face. That made me realize that his plan for this scene wasn't lost to madness. Then I had no choice but to take advantage of the opportunity. I grabbed Chiami's hand and pulled with so much force that she fell on her backside, but I didn't care. I dashed it past her and swung my weapon at Yasunaga Oribe. I hit Haru Makishima once, Tei Yamawaki twice, and Yasunaga Oribe 5 or 6 times, and then I ran to Chiami and Maiko, who were completely dumbfounded and fled the hall. There was no time to waste. I had to hurry up and escape. If I didn't, I'd waste the one chance that he'd given me. Hariyuki-san, what are you doing? What's going on? Hey, Chiami. What? Yasunaga really has a good head on his shoulders, doesn't he? What are you talking about? My hand hurts. I'll fall. I was probably irritated, and not just because of hunger. It was because of the epiphany I had, and because it had taken me so long to reach it. Yasunaga Oribe had a different motive. You have a crush on Chiami Serizawa, so you didn't want to hurt her if no one else. So you used what little reason you had still to conclude that the only way to save her was through escape. But letting someone escape would be subjecting everyone else to the corruption. So you had to have me beat up everyone and take her by force to avoid that. Shit. If he didn't intend to let me run away, he would have thrown away the sickle. He wouldn't have thrown away the sickle. He was basically signaling for me to understand and finally attack him. In the end, he was far more clever than me. I just stopped dancing to his tune. Regardless, no, exactly because of that, I had to help those two escape no matter what. After all, I'm an adult. I've never had that feeling as an adult to just, I must go! By the way, using an adult without relying on oneself was a very adult thing to do, Yasunaga Oribe. Good luck with the rest. We crossed the field paths, went past the stone graves, and over the boundary. Descending the cliff took a lot of patience. It didn't seem like they were chasing us, so we could go down carefully. Chiami's expression was dead. She'd been hit hard by a sudden revelation. The game board had been flipped on her. She'd lost, and now she had to suddenly say goodbye to her old friends. It was hard to just laugh that off. Should I have told her about Yasunaga's intentions? I did consider it, but I couldn't bring myself to. He chose to save her by sacrificing their relationship. If she knew, she'd probably want to go back to the settlement. Or maybe I just didn't want to say it because of my pride as a man. My fragile masculinity. That was fine by me, too. Being able to shrug off such unfairness was one of the blessings of adulthood. So I consoled Chiami, shouted to Miko to be more careful, and generally talked as much as I could. The mist grew even more denser. Hey, Chiami. I think we're already outside the village. Maybe. We did it, and look, nothing happened. We did it? Yep. Now let's cross the river and return to town. Where's the river? I couldn't see anything. I hadn't just lost my bearings. It was worse than that. I couldn't even see Chiami or Michael's faces. I was actually holding their hands. We were already at the bottom of the cliff, walking on the stones below. We heard water, so it was clear that we were close to the river. But I didn't know if we could keep going right now. Let's rest. We can't. Chiami. I thought she was going to freak out again, but... No, that's not it. She stopped me. Don't you hear it? Ignore the water. Confused, I strained my ears. What am I supposed to hear? Woof! Woof! Bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay! It's Snoop Dogg! They're coming after us. They were acting strange. I strained my ears again. Was it above us? I could hear the faint sound of rustling leaves from the top of the cliff. We gotta run! I'm tired! Hayaki, take Maiko! The intensity in Chiami's voice made me take the situation seriously. What if the sound was just the wind, though? Was she jumping at shadows? But I would have been lying if I said I wasn't worried. After all, a question remained unanswered. And according to the legend, this was their HQ. Wait, they were the good guys, right? Still, this wasn't a normal place. I had to get out of here ASAP. After a while, I was forced to recognize the anomaly. We couldn't reach the river. I ran along the riverbed. It should have been small, just a few meters wide. But even after 10 minutes of running, there was no sign of the river. We couldn't get anywhere. It was just like ring wanderung, a phenomenon where people wandering snowy peaks lose their sense of direction and just end up walking in circles. However, even if my sight was limited, how could anyone get lost at such a small riverbed? I could hear the stream right next to me. This felt so wrong. I was as good as blind. All I could trust were my ears, but that just made me realize how useless that was to rely on. I trusted my sense of direction less with every passing second. So, the sound of parting grass in the distance, the sound of claws stepping on the rocks. I felt like they were getting closer. I couldn't be certain. Eventually, we slowed down. The others didn't say anything. They were clearly exhausted. We hadn't eaten for days, not to mention the dense mist made our clothes all uncomfortably damp and cold. We walked along the riverbed without uttering a single word. The sound of water wasn't getting any closer, but something else sure was. Something. Things I didn't know scared me. The chill and the fear strangled me like a garrote as I carried Maiko, passed out from exhaustion on my back. How long has it been like this? Suddenly, the hand I was dragging became heavier. Chiami had stopped. Haruaki. She called my name through the mist. What? I tried to sound lighthearted, but I wasn't confident I pulled it off. We're done for. Her voice suggested the image of a grim smile. What are you saying? Unlike before, I couldn't manage the defiant tone I used whenever she said something stupid. It was true that something unnatural was happening, and that there was no simple explanation. And Chiami was wearing down both physically and emotionally. Let's rest a bit. We'll get through this if we have to go a bit further. Don't worry. No, it's impossible. Why? I think you can't get past this river as long as I'm with you. What? That was like... You heard what they said. We're the Yomibito. So... You're not worthy of crossing or something? I mean, I've been eating the Yasumizu's food since I was a little girl. And I'm corrupted. Chiami, don't look at me. I turned around and pulled her by the arm. I looked at her face from point-blank range. It was covered in brown and yellow blisters. Before I could even be surprised or disgusted, I just kissed her. The sugary taste of blood, pus, and rust filled my mouth and spread throughout my throat. I didn't care. Ew. But to discard all unnecessary emotions, I hugged her as hard as I could. My breathing and thoughts ceased. I kept it up until the pain began to fade, and then disappeared completely. Eventually, our lips were separated again, She prioritized words over breaths. I'm sorry. Even so, I hugged her tight. I couldn't lose to something so ridiculous. She weakly hugged me back, but she couldn't keep it up for long. Let's go. I'm telling you that... Let's go. The presence in the distance was definitely closing in. We walked. I felt like I'd been walking for several hours now. Our pursuers were close now, but I had no intention of rushing. Chiemi was slowly but surely getting weaker by the second. Her speed slacked with each step, and the weight on my arms was becoming heavier. I could hear her cough and vomit something out. She apologized every time she did, and I basically replied with "it's alright," using different words every time. We walked. Chiemi's feet began to make wet sounds with every step. We walked. Maybe we actually been here for only a few minutes? We walked. Chiemi kept apologizing. Maybe we hadn't even moved a single meter. We walked. Maybe none of this was real. Then, maybe nothing that happened here would be weird. Eventually, Chiemi called out to me in a hoarse voice. Haruaki. The fact that she said something different had sparked a moment of baseless hope. And so, thank you. Her gratitude was followed by another wet sound. I had fun. With those final words, her weight vanished. It was strange. After all, I was still holding her hand. Or rather, only her hand. With a splash, her bodily fluid spread around while her limbs and entrails just collapsed. Chiemi was gone, leaving behind only her rotting hand. Perhaps her remains were piling up in the mist ahead. I had a strange certainty I couldn't touch it ever again. Was this what they called a yamibito? I couldn't accept this, no matter what. I don't care what. Take a part of me outside. I put the hand in my jacket pocket. I took Maiko, still sleeping, and shifted my grip to make carrying her easier. I continued walking for too long. Maiko woke up. She was shocked that Chiemi was gone and cried for a bit, and then she said she wanted to walk by herself, so I put her down on the ground. The very next moment, she was dragged into the mist. It was clearly a malicious force that did that. To me, it looked like a furry arm. Those damn furries! A scream resounded. It was an inhuman, animalistic scream. After resting for a moment, I turned to run and caught a glimpse of something beastly within the mist Maiko had disappeared into. I ran. And ran. Suddenly, I felt myself stepping into something wet. Oops. I had arrived at the river. It was meaningless. I lost everything. And in the end, only I survived. Was there any meaning in fulfilling that promise? No. The meaning was for me to find. That was why I had to survive and find a forest. Yeah, I still had that hope back then. They finally broke through the mist and showed themselves. Oh, of course. This really was hell, wasn't it? This wasn't the human realm or nirvana. It was a river of hell, so of course both sides were going to be hell. There was no splash when we threw Takumi's body in, was there? The moment we went into the mist and down the cliff, our bodies vanished from the world and reached a place from where there was no return. And I finally had no choice but to accept it. As someone who had taken in the flesh and blood of a Yamibito, Chiemi, I couldn't escape either. That was why I screamed stupidly, only managing to run a few steps before their sinister claws tore me apart. Damn it. Where had I gone wrong? Descending into this Aranaka? Not believing she had me when she told me we couldn't escape? No, it was back even earlier than that. I already knew the answer. Ugh, shit. I really wished I'd been a part of Yasumizu and participated in the Feast of the Yomi Purge. Maybe I could have gotten a different ending than this. That was the last thought I had that went through my mind before it all faded away. And that's it. That's the ending of the first one. The first time I saw it, I was really sad, and I'm seeing it again made me really sad too. I'm just like in my feelings about it, and it's like it's a good one, especially knowing that even if you go through the first run, you get the key to basically go through the game again, except this time you're trying to get into the feast. I haven't started it yet, but I think I'm gonna take... Sorry, I was interrupted, but yeah, I'm gonna take a small break from Raging Loop, and we'll go through it again on the second round, and I know it'll be quite the experience next time. So, yeah, I'll see you then. Bye.